In 1956, a millworker's wife named Eleanor Pritchard lived in a clapboard duplex 2 blocks from the textile plant in Lowell, Massachusetts. On the shelf above her wringer washer sat a green and yellow box of 20 Mule Team Borax she had bought for 49 cents at the corner market. That box brightened her husband's white work shirts on Mondays. It softened the rust-colored water that came out of the tap. It cleared the ants off the back step every June. It scrubbed her son's grass-stained baseball uniform on Sunday nights. It deodorized the diaper pail in the back hall. It freshened the carpet in the front parlor before her sister visited. It scrubbed the toilet bowl. It loosened the burned crust on the bottom of her roasting pan. The box lasted Eleanor 6 months. She did not call it nontoxic. She did not call it eco-friendly. She called it borax. She was not unusual. From the mill towns of New England to the bungalow streets of Long Beach, American women ran their houses on a single green box. They threw those boxes out the moment the supermarket promised them specialization. We let the shelf go. We started buying the answers. This was not thrift. This was knowledge. A woman raised this way could brighten a sheet, clear a back step, scrub a sink, and freshen a rug, all from one box. We mistook complication for progress. We replaced one box with 20 bottles. We are paying for the trade every month. A quick note before we begin. This is historical and educational content, not medical advice. For your own situation, please consult a professional. Number 19 on this list brightened a stack of sheets the linen closet had given up on. Number 11 did its work inside a sealed wooden chest, and most modern shoppers reach for a product designed to mimic it without knowing the original ever existed. And number 2 was the use Grandma reached for more than any other, passed mother to daughter without ever being written down. These 25 tricks were not about being thrifty. They were about being capable. Hit that subscribe button. Let us count down the 25 forgotten borax tricks every 1950s housewife used for nearly everything. Number 25, the Monday Whites Booster. Half a cup of borax tossed into the wringer washer with the regular soap flakes. The whites came up brighter. The yellow under the collar lifted. For a steelworker's wife in 1955, Gary, Indiana, with 3 boys and a husband home gray with mill grit, Monday was a war. The green box was the quiet weapon. By 1955, 20 Mule Team Borax had been on American shelves for 64 years, and the laundry booster aisle as we know it did not yet exist. About 4 cents per load. Not a softener. A correction the soap could not make alone. Number 24, the hard water softener. New England water came out of the tap loaded with iron and lime. You stirred a 1/4 cup of borax into the wash water before the soap went in. The soap finally lathered. The shirts came up soft. For a Lowell mill family in 1956 on town water that ran rust on Tuesdays, the box was the difference between a wash that worked and one that did not. In the 1950s, before municipal water softening was widespread, half the country fought hard water this way, about 2 cents per load. Not magic. Chemistry, her mother taught her at 14. Number 23. The ant line on the back step. Late spring brought the columns up the concrete. The green box ended the visits. You mixed equal parts borax and powdered sugar. You laid thin lines along the baseboard, the door frame, the back step. Within a week, the line was gone. For a Brooklyn row house grandmother in 1962, the back step was the family's only outdoor floor. Today, an entire shelf of pest products exists to do what that mix did for pennies. About 6 cents per treatment. No spray, no mask, no exterminator bill. Number 22. The iron skillet, save. When the cornbread burned to the bottom, the box came down. You sprinkled 2 tablespoons of borax over the warm pan. You added an inch of hot water. You let it sit 30 minutes. The burn lifted with a wooden spoon, not a scrub, a surrender by the burn. For an Iowa farm wife in 1958 who had inherited the skillet from her grandmother, the pan was older than the marriage. Iron skillets in the 1950s farm kitchens routinely lasted 40 years because of saves like this one. About 3 cents per save. Number 21, the baseball uniform soak. Sunday nights, the gray pants came in green at the knees. You filled the laundry tub with hot water and half a cup of borax. You soaked the uniform overnight. Monday morning, the grass lifted in the regular wash. For a Cleveland Little League mother in 1959 with 2 boys on 2 different teams, the soak was the difference between a uniform that lasted a season and one that did not. Before the pre-wash spray bottle was invented in 1972, the overnight borax soak was how every American mother handled set-in stains. About 4 cents per soak, not bleach. Patience in a green box. Number 20, the diaper pail deodorizer. The pail in the back hall was the price of a new baby. You sprinkled half a cup of borax over the bottom of the pail every morning. You added a quart of hot water. The smell stayed in the pail. For a young Philadelphia mother in 1957 with twins under 2 and a husband on the night shift, the pail was the household's quiet shame. Cloth diaper service ads from the 1950s listed borax as the recommended deodorizer in their instructional pamphlets. About 3 cents per day. Not perfume. A working answer. Number 19, the linen closet recovery. The bottom drawer sheets had gone gray. The box brought them back. You filled the bathtub with warm water and 1 cup of borax per 5 gallons. You soaked the sheets overnight. You rinsed and washed them as usual. The gray lifted. For a Wisconsin grandmother in 1961, with her mother's wedding linens slowly losing their color, the soak was the difference between an heirloom and a rag. Heirloom linens in 1950s households commonly outlasted 3 generations because of soaks like this one. About 9 cents per soak, not laundry. Recovery. Number 18, the toilet bowl scrub. Before the blue gel in the plastic bottle, there was the green box. You sprinkled a 1/4 cup of borax into the bowl at bedtime. You let it sit overnight. In the morning, a quick swirl with the brush and the bowl came up bright. For a parsonage wife in 1958 Iowa, with a Sunday school class arriving at 9, the bathroom had to pass inspection by 8:30. The first dedicated toilet bowl cleaner brand did not appear on American shelves until 1954, and most households kept using borax for another decade. It cost about 2 cents per scrub. Not a chemical, a habit older than the brand. Number 17, the roach powder. The kitchen baseboards in old city apartments had visitors after dark. The green box ended the visits. You mixed equal parts borax and flour. You spread thin lines under the sink, behind the icebox, along the baseboard of the pantry. Within 2 weeks, the kitchen was clear. For a Bronx tenement wife in 1960, with 3 children sleeping in 1 room, the powder was a quiet act of dignity. Tenement landlords in the 1950s handed out borax along with the lease. About 5 cents per treatment. No exterminator, no shame. Number 16, the carpet freshener before company. Saturday afternoon, before her sister's visit, the parlor rug got the treatment. You sprinkled borax lightly across the carpet. You let it sit 15 minutes. You vacuumed it up. The rug came up clean smelling. For an Akron housewife in 1958 whose mother-in-law could find dust in a sealed jar, the freshener was the difference between a visit and a verdict. The shaker can carpet freshener that now occupies its own aisle is, by chemistry, the same thing in a heavier box at 12 times the price. About 3 cents per rug. Not a novelty powder sold in a fancy shaker can, but the actual ingredient the can was built to mimic. Here is what nobody talks about. The average American woman in 1955 cleaned an entire house with borax, vinegar, baking soda, and a bar of brown laundry soap. The average American woman today owns 38 separate cleaning products. Not because the dirt got harder, because somewhere between 1965 and today, we replaced a culture of capability with a culture of consumption. The chemical industry did not invent better cleaners. It invented narrower ones. One bottle for the toilet, one for the carpet, one for the laundry booster, one for the ants, one for the pet stain. The green box under the sink could do every one of those jobs and was thrown out for taking up too much imagination. We did not get cleaner houses. We got fuller cabinets and emptier wallets. Number 15. Dish soak for greasy pans. After Sunday roast, the pan sat in the sink in cold water and a quarter cup of borax. 2 hours later, the grease lifted in plain warm water. For an Indiana farm wife in 1960 feeding 8 on a Wednesday, every pan had to do 2 jobs and clean itself between them. The dedicated grease-cutting dish liquid was a 1970s invention, about 2 cents per soak, not elbow grease. Chemistry doing the work the hand used to do. Number 14. The windowsill mildew pass. Old houses sweated in summer. The sill grew dark spots by July. You made a paste of 2 tablespoons of borax and just enough warm water to hold it together. You spread it on the sill. You let it sit for an hour. You wiped it off with a damp rag. The dark lifted. For a Virginia housewife in 1958 with 3 sneezing children and a screened porch full of pollen, the pass was a quiet maintenance. Bathroom mildew sprays did not appear on American shelves until 1976. About 4 cents per sill. Not a product, a practice. Number 13. The hairbrush and comb soak. Every Saturday morning, the brushes came off the vanity. You filled a small bowl with hot water and a tablespoon of borax. You dropped the brushes and combs in. You let them soak 15 minutes. You rinsed them clean. For a teenage girl in 1961 Indianapolis getting ready for her first dance, the brush was as much a part of the family economy as the hair on her head. The beauty supply aisle in 1961 offered exactly 0 products for cleaning a hairbrush. The box on the laundry shelf did the job. About 1 cent per soak. Not a beauty supply. A habit her aunt had taught her at 10. Number 12. The oven bottom lift. Before the spray can with the warning label, there was the box and the paste. You sprinkled borax across the warm oven bottom. You spritzed it with water until it was damp. You closed the oven and let it sit overnight. In the morning, the baked-on residue came up with a damp cloth. For a Detroit auto worker's wife in 1960 running a house on 1 paycheck, the oven was the family's largest cooking appliance, and the lift was how it earned its 2nd decade. The first aerosol oven cleaner came to American shelves in 1966 and was marketed almost exclusively against the older borax method. About 4 cents per cleaning. It was so widespread, no one wrote it down. Number 11. The moth defense in the cedar chest. Winter coats went in. Moths tried to follow. You filled small cotton bags with borax and tucked them between the folded coats. You tied the chest closed for the season. In April, the coats came out untouched. For a New Hampshire grandmother in 1957 with her father's wool overcoat from the First World War still in the chest, the bags were the difference between an heirloom and a hole. The cedar block, sold today in the home goods aisle, is a fragrance product. The borax bag was the working defense, about 5 cents per bag. It was not a cedar block. Cedar blocks were invented to mimic that defense. Number 10. The garbage can wash. Once a week, the can came off the back step. You scrubbed it with a long-handled brush, a gallon of hot water, and half a cup of borax. You rinsed it on the back walk with the hose. You set it in the sun to dry. The can came up clean. For a Cleveland streetcar conductor's wife in 1956, the can was the family's most public possession, sitting at the curb every Tuesday. The weekly garbage can wash was so standard in 1950s American neighborhoods that municipal sanitation pamphlets in 12 major cities recommended borax by name. About 4 cents per wash. Not a chore. A statement. Number 9. The hand cleaner for the husband. He came in from the auto shop with grease worked into his knuckles. You set out a tin can with a quarter cup of borax, a tablespoon of soap flakes, and just enough water to make a thick paste. He scrubbed his hands at the kitchen sink. The grease came out of the cracks. For a Toledo mechanic's wife in 1959, the can on the sink was the household's quiet welcome home. Branded industrial hand cleaners arrived in American auto shops in the 1960s, and they were chemically modeled on the borax paste, about 1 cent per scrub. It was not an industrial product. It was the same powder she used in the wash. Number 8. The refrigerator wipe down. Once a month, the icebox came apart. You wiped every shelf with a cloth dipped in warm water and 2 tablespoons of borax per quart. The smell of last week's onion lifted. The shelves came up bright. For a Minnesota housewife in 1961, with a household of 7 and a single refrigerator, the wipe down was monthly stewardship. The branded refrigerator deodorizer did not exist in 1961 because the box on the shelf did the job. About 3 cents per cleaning. Not a baking soda box. A working solution that did the deodorizing and the cleaning in one pass. Number 7. The pet bedding freshener. The dog slept on a folded blanket by the back door. Once a week, you sprinkled borax across the blanket and you let it sit 20 minutes. Then you shook it out hard on the back walk. The blanket came up fresh. For a Georgia farm grandmother in 1961, with 2 hounds and 3 grandchildren who all preferred the dog's corner to the parlor, the blanket was the household's quietest piece of furniture. The pet care aisle as we know it did not exist in 1961. The box on the laundry shelf was the pet care aisle. It cost about 2 cents per freshening, not a pet store product. A reach. Number 6. The garden slug pass. Late summer, when the slugs came for the lettuce, the green box went outside. You sprinkled a thin ring of borax around the base of each lettuce row in the early morning. By the next day, the slugs were gone. For a Pennsylvania Dutch farm wife in 1958, whose lettuce was supposed to last into September, the pass was the difference between a row and a stripped bed. Garden center slug products did not exist in 1958 outside of a few specialty seed catalogs. About 6 cents per garden, no store-bought pellet, no warning to keep the children indoors. Number 5. The soap stretcher. When the laundry soap got expensive, 1 box would buy a month. You mixed 1 cup of soap flakes with 1 cup of borax in a coffee tin. You used the mixed powder in place of straight soap. The wash came up clean. The soap lasted twice as long. For a railroad clerk's wife in 1953, Topeka, stretching the household budget through a long winter, the tin in the cabinet was the family's quiet engineering. Homemaker magazines in 1953 printed this exact stretcher ratio in their winter household economy columns. About 2 cents per load, not a hack, a multiplier. Number 4, the painted wall wipe. Greasy fingerprints around the light switch. Crayon on the hallway wall. You wiped them down with a cloth dipped in a quart of warm water and a tablespoon of borax. The wall came clean without taking the paint with it. For a Wisconsin mother in 1959 with 4 children under 10, the wipe was a Tuesday afternoon ritual between lunch and supper. The melamine foam eraser sponge, now sold in 4 packs at every supermarket, is a 1999 invention. The borax wipe did the same job for 40 years before it. About 1 cent per wall. Not a magic eraser. The original. In 1952, the Pacific Coast Borax Company published a free booklet titled 20 Mule Team Borax in Every Room of the House. The booklet listed 174 documented household uses organized by room. It went through 9 printings between 1952 and 1968. Then it quietly went out of print in 1973. By 1990, borax was being shelved beside specialty laundry boosters and slowly fading from view. The 174 uses did not disappear. They got reassigned to 174 separate products with 174 separate price tags. The booklet did not get disproved. It got out-marketed. Number 3, the China Cabinet Polish. Before company arrived, the good plates came out. You wiped them down with a damp cloth dusted with borax, and you rinsed them in warm water. The glaze came up bright. For an Ohio parsonage wife in 1959, setting the table for Easter, the plates were the family's quiet inheritance. The dedicated china and crystal polish in the home goods aisle is a 1970s retail invention. The box on the shelf came first, about 2 cents per setting, not a polish in a bottle. A grandmother's certainty that the box could do this too. Number 2, the kitchen counter scrub. This was the use she reached for more than any other. A tablespoon of borax sprinkled on a damp cloth. A slow pass across the counter after every meal. The cloth rinsed clean under the tap. The counter came up bright. For a 1959 housewife in any city in the country, the box on the shelf above the sink was the kitchen's quiet engine. The all-purpose spray cleaner in the trigger bottle did not appear on American shelves until 1958, and most households kept using borax for another 15 years. About 1 cent per pass. Mother to daughter, hand to hand, never written down. Number 1, a pinch in a damp cloth. That was it. Before the spray, before the wipe, before the brand name cleaner with the cartoon mascot, the first reach was always the cloth, a square of cotton dampened under the tap, a pinch of borax sprinkled across the wet center, a hand that knew where to wipe. About half a cent per cloth in 1958. It cleaned the kitchen table after breakfast. It wiped the high chair after lunch. It handled the bathroom sink before bed. The cloth did 90% of the daily work in a 1950s household. The other 173 uses came in for the other 10. We have spent 70 years marketing the 10% and forgetting the 90. The cloth still works. The pinch still works. The hand that knows the difference is what we lost. None of these uses required a degree. None of them required a subscription, an app, or a wellness influencer. They required attention. The generation that ran America's households understood something the modern aisle has spent 50 years trying to unlearn. Capability is not the same as consumption. A box you know 25 uses for is worth more than 25 bottles you bought separately. The woman who could brighten a sheet, clear a back step, Scrub a pan and freshen a rug from one shelf was not poor. She was equipped. These were not the habits of women who could not afford better. These were the habits of women who knew better. And the moment we forgot, we traded a working pantry for an aisle full of solutions to problems we did not have until the aisle was built. The green box is still on the shelf. It just has to be reached for on purpose now.